Hello YouTube, j'espère que ça se passe, le grand comeback. On est enfin de retour sur PoE2. Et ça y est, on est en direct sur Twitch. On va suivre les nouvelles annonces, les nouveautés qui vont arriver pour le 29 août. Grand hâte de suivre tout ça. Techniquement, c'est présenté par Jonathan Rogers et Mark Roberts. Qu'est-ce qui va nous attendre dans la nouvelle extension qui s'appelle The Third Edict. J'espère que je prononce bien. Et honnêtement, moi, la chose que j'attends le plus, déjà peut-être dans les trailers ou dans le premier trailer qu'ils vont nous balancer, nouvelle classe, surtout des nouvelles compétences, peut-être, je dis bien peut-être, des choses qui vont être liées à tout ce qui va concerner l'acte 4, ou peut-être aussi une prolongation de ce qu'on connaît déjà dans le mode histoire. Bref, messieurs, dames, ça commence dans un peu moins de 30 secondes. Vraiment, je suis... La hype commence à monter gentiment. Et qu'est-ce qu'ils vont enfin nous servir? On y est. Allez, dans exactement 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ça part.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games, and welcome to GGG Live.
Ok.
Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of what's coming next for Path of Exile 2.
Ok.
Drops are enabled on today's live stream, so
Et
you'll
oui,
be
les
able to
petites
claim
feature
your
up.
Sun Priest's Incineration rare finisher effects by following the instructions below.
Des petites choses gratuites qu'on va retrouver.
Let's get started. It's time to give you a teaser of what's coming in Path of Exile 2, the Third Edict.
The Third Edict. Premier trailer, qu'est-ce qu'on va avoir? Oh, j'avais dit les tribales. Oh, trop bien. Oh, les dragons et tout, qu'il y a, what? Ngakamui. Absou.
Voice ancestors, show us your strength. Show us the true way.
C'est bon comme ça les potes.
I understand.
Oh, Ice Crash. Oh, enfin les nouveaux boss. Oh, c'est nouveau ça. Oh les... Yes, enfin. Donc là les boss qu'on avait vus dans Ultimatum. Oh, tellement stylé. J'avais dit qu'il allait avoir du tribal. Putain, on a donc la suite des actes. Oh là là, excellent. Acte 4. 3 interludes. 35 nouvelles zones. Excellent. 24 nouveaux boss. Oh, des nouvelles support gems. Oui. Oh. 150 nouveaux notables dans l'arbre de talent. Attends, New Trade System. Oh. Une introduction. Right. Ah, let's go, les abysses. Oh, ça a l'air sexy tout. Oh, ça a l'air génial. Oh, alors les abysses, on le savait. Mais là, par contre, on a vu du nouveau boss. Et ça, c'est huge. Ça, c'est très huge. Ok, pour l'instant... Ça sans faute. Le trailer, il donne envie. Beaucoup de choses sur ce trailer. Beaucoup de choses. Ok, nice. Ça commence fort.
Now, as you can see, there's a lot going on, and we have a lot to reveal today. We'll start by going over Act 4, the next chapter in the Path of Exile 2 storyline. But that's not all. There's also 3 new interlude acts to get you to endgame, which means we're removing cruel difficulty too. After that, we'll be going through the massive changes to characters. I'm super excited to show you how
le
I've
Chayula
overhauled
qui
the
se fait
entire
meuf,
support gym
oui.
system, added new skills, and yes,
Alors
there are
peut-être le
buffs.
comeback du Chayula.
Next, we'll go over the rise of the Abyssal, this season's exclusive league mechanic, and talk about the new rewards, crafting systems, areas, and bosses that it
4
adds.
nouveaux boss pour Abyss, incroyable.
After that, it's on to changes we're making to the endgame. Then it's time to talk about items, crafting, and oh yeah, trade. That's going to be a big one.
Currency items, new
We'll then
omens.
go over
Oh
our new
oui,
supporter
let's
packs
go.
and finish up with a live Q&A
le
session
crafting là, il
where
m'intéresse,
ZD
là.
will ask Path of Exile 2's game directors, myself and Mark, your questions from Twitch chat.
Ah, génial.
And after that, at 4 p.m. Pacific, hatch notes. They're not quite complete, but they should give you some nice details to chew on.
Sympa,
We've
donc
got
là
a
on a
lot to
3
cover
nouvelles
today,
zones pour les
but
3
first,
derniers actes.
another
Sympa.
announcement. When the third edict launches on the 29th, we'll be having a free weekend for Path of Exile 2. That's right, Path of Exile 2 will be free for the first time without requiring an early access key.
Ok.
The free weekend will end on September the 1st, so you'll have plenty of time to give the game a try. Alright, let's get started with Act 4.
Oh purée,
The
l'acte
story
4 alors.
continues from the end of Act 3. Doryani has agreed to help you find an ancient weapon that can be used against corruption,
Yes.
the instrument of the Third Edict.
L'aide de
The
Dorian, on
weapon
l'avait
was
dit.
broken in ages past, but he believes that the pieces may be found in the Karui archipelago, the home of the Karui tribes. You will need to
Les
journey to
Karui.
Kingsmarch,
Oh.
hire a ship, and set sail. When
Oh,
open
la
the
caravane
map,
qui
you
est
can
comme le
choose to sail
bateau.
anywhere you like. Act 4 is completely
Trop
non-linear,
bien. Oh,
and you can visit the
incroyable. Je
island
pensais
in
pas
any
qu'il le
order you
mettrait pour le
choose.
bateau.
Will you visit the pristine beaches of Whakapanu Island? The Karui whisper of a curse that afflicts all who travel there. Perhaps it's related to the weapon you seek.
Oh, trop bien.
Or
Les
maybe
zones
you
sont
will
belles.
visit the volcanic shores of the Isle of Kin. The Kin have been more restless recently, mining for sulfite and driven by some dark
Oh, le nouveau
force.
skills là, c'est quoi cette spirale là? What?
Perhaps you will choose to consult with one of the local Karui tribes. Their ancient wisdom could hold clues to finding the Third Edict. No matter where you choose to go, you will fight dangerous beasts,
Oh.
find fabulous treasures,
Oh, il va y avoir de la currency.
and battle incredible bosses.
A challenger!
Oh, le sa...
Yamasi's your
Yama de... Bah attends, elle a l'air incroyable ce boss, what?
There are
Un
8 islands
humanoïde
to
en mode,
discover, each teeming with its own flora and fauna.
Enfin,
Act
une
4 contains
espèce de
over 100
singe
new monster
humanoïde, là,
types,
sympa.
16 new areas, 12 new bosses, and plenty of other interesting encounters. There's a huge amount to
Ok,
show,
oh,
but we're not
oui,
going to
le
spoil
nouveau,
too much
le nouveau
here.
boss là.
We want to give you a chance to discover it all for yourself. What happens after Act 4? Well, until now you had to repeat the entire campaign again before you could face the endgame. But after adding Act 4,
Ok, il y a eu que des
it was
golds, des
far too
quelques
long to make you do
currencies,
that.
mais on attendait le
We
mirror. Moi
needed
j'attendais
something
le
else to do
mirror.
in between the end of Act 4 and the endgame. So what else could we do? Add 3 new mini-acts, of course, and we're
Des
calling them
curses à
the
fontaine,
Interludes.
de Stolen Barrier et
The Interludes are a set
Dorianise.
of 3 temporary side stories that will be included in the game until Act 5 is released, that will take you to level 65 where the endgame can begin. The first interlude sends you on a journey back to Ogham. Renly has been leading the efforts to rebuild Ogham
back to
village
Ogham
after the
dans la-
defeat of Count
Ok.
Geonor. But there's a new danger afoot.
Ok.
The nearby town of Holton is surrounded by an impenetrable darkness, and each night their corrupted townfolk emerge to raid the local farmlands. You will discover new areas and new bosses.
Oh, Sura Blade of the Mist. Oh, boss
You'll
d'expédition
need to
ça.
find your way through the darkness, uncover the source of corruption,
Soon you will serve our master.
and defeat it.
Yes, I shall dance with their corpse.
And that's just the
What?
first
Attends,
interlude.
incroyable l'armure là.
The second interlude will have you return to the Vasteri Desert, where Asala has been given a sacred duty. When the skies align, the gifting of water requires a chosen Sekima to meet with the Selkari, guardians of the sacred water, but they're nowhere to be found. You will need to track down the Selkari, find those responsible for disrupting the gifting, fight even more new bosses,
Oh, oh, what?
discover the secrets of the ancient ritual, discover new locations,
Ok, sympa.
and ultimately help Asala carry out her sacred duty. Now for Interlude 3. As royal thaumaturge of the Vaal, Doyani had plans within plans to save his people from the cataclysm perpetuated by Atzeri's lust for power. One such plan involved sealing a group of willing Vaal deep in a great mountain vault near the home of the Asmeri, deep enough to survive the cataclysm. Even though thousands of years have passed, he believes that their descendants may still live, and may be key to defeating the beast. The journey up the mountain will be dangerous. New foes stand in your way.
Oh, regarde.
And the further up the mountain you
Attends, mais il y a
venture, the
tellement de
colder it will
boss.
become.
C'est un petit peu ce qui va remplacer ce qu'on avait en 1, 2, 3 version cruelle, ouais.
And enter the vault itself. Who can say what you will find within? The interludes are 6 to 7 areas each and generally include 4 boss fights as well. When you put that together with Act 4, that adds up to 35 new areas in the campaign and 24 new bosses. It's worth making clear that the interludes are temporary. When Act 5 and 6 are added, the interludes will be going away. These are side stories after all, but don't worry, the bosses and areas that make up the interlude are all part of the endgame. We're not just going to throw them away. And with that, we don't need cruel difficulty anymore. We do know that it was a pretty big chore to have to play through the campaign multiple times on each character. And this was a huge reason.
Trop cool, ils ont enfin enlevé en vrai l'acte 1, 2, 3 à refaire ça, c'est génial.
But we do also have another new feature
En
to
vrai de vrai,
address that
génial.
particular concern as well. So let's talk about sprinting.
Sprinting, oh!
In 030, when you hold down the dodge roll button, your character will go into a sprint after they finish the roll.
Oh, enfin, de la vitesse! Oh, quoi? Yes, 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 yes! Ah oui, on va vite, ça y est, un peu d'excuses, là, venez jouer, là!
Areas faster when out of combat. Because of that, if you do take a hit while sprinting, you'll fall to the ground.
Ah!
The best idea is to use a skill when you see monsters. That'll break you out of the sprint so you can engage with no danger. If you do need to run away from monsters, just hold spacebar. You won't be vulnerable during the roll, and you're faster while sprinting than basically any monster in the game, allowing you to retreat from combat.
Oh, trop bien, enfin!
Sprint is a pretty significant change to PoE 2's gameplay. But what I like most about it is that we can accelerate the pace of the game for those who want that, without having to compromise on PoE 2's more visceral combat systems. Okay, so that's the new extensions to the campaign, but there's a whole giant league to play through as well. I'll leave that to Mark to talk about later. And that's because what I want to talk about now is the new stuff for your characters. And probably one of the biggest new systems here is with the support gems.
Oui, on a de la vitesse. On a juste sprint. Bah non, alors ça arrive après le craft.
Enable so many interesting mechanics and
Nouvelle gem
different ways
support.
to play.
Nouvelle gem
PoE
support.
2's support gem system has just never been quite right. One of the major issues is the limitation of only having one support gem of each type on your character. We didn't want builds to just become using the same 5 most powerful supports in every skill. The problem with this design, though, is that it's actually working against using multiple skills in your build. If you can only use each support gem on one skill, it means that you're encouraged to go all in on that one ability. And we want to encourage you to combo your abilities, something needed to change. So with that in mind, we've removed the restriction of having one of each support gem per character. You can now use as many copies as you like.
Attends, quoi? Ils enlèvent
This
ça?
should drastically increase the amount of possible builds and increase the amount of skill diversity.
On peut enfin mettre plusieurs gemmes support identiques. Excellent,
There are a
ça.
lot of potential
Ok.
builds that suffered from the previous restriction. For example, a poison build previously couldn't add poison to more than one skill. They couldn't use stacking poison on more than one skill either.
Oh,
This severely
quoi?
limited your ability to combo with anything outside of the
Non,
specific
ah là ils ont
designed
cédé,
poison
là ils ont
archetype.
cédé
But now
là.
you can. Many utility skills previously couldn't scale to endgame because the supports that would make
Non,
them
là
scale
ils ont
were
craqué.
useful to use in other skills.
Ça va être
You'll
incroyable.
never speed up killing
Ça
time
va
with
être
martial tempo,
insane.
but
Ils
you
ont
can try
craqué,
and
ils
use
ont
it on
fait
the
bon.
primary skill
On vous a
instead.
écouté.
There
On
are
vous a
more examples of
écouté.
this all over the place. In addition to that, though, we thought there wasn't enough feeling of progression in the supports as you went through the game. There were only 3 tiers of supports, and many of the most important ones were given out at Tier 1. Also, there were no strict upgrades, meaning that upgrading supports when you ran out of sockets required quite a lot of thinking. In order to solve these issues, we now also have multiple levels of many supports as you go through
quoi?
the
Ah
game.
ouais, what?
For example, double barrel support gives you an extra bolt, but at the cost of 30% less reload speed. At Tier 2, the penalty gets lowered to 20%. But then at Tier 3, the support gem gets something new.
Oh, quoi?
It now reloads
What?
automatically when you heavy stun an
Oh,
enemy.
les gars, mais attends, c'est fou. Attends, donc là,
In some
what?
cases, the highest tiers might work a little differently, and you'll have to
Ouais,
decide
attack
if you like
speed
the
sur
upgrade or
martial
not,
tempo,
depending
je
on
vois
the
bien
build.
venir ça.
For example, rapid casting.
Tu gagnes
The first couple
5%.
levels gives 15, then 20% increased cast speed. But then at Tier 3,
Oh.
it changes to a new approach. For each different spell you cast in the last 8 seconds, you get 10% increased cast speed, which could be a pretty big bonus if you use a lot of different spells.
Oh, quoi?
So that's pretty good for upgrades through the
Snap.
campaign. But we wanted to add a
Oh,
little more
dingue!
spice to the
Attends, mais
in-game
là, les gars, il y a
supports
trop de trucs, là.
And that's where our new system, lineage supports, comes in.
Oh, quoi?
You can think of these
Oh,
like
ils ont craqué.
unique items, but for
Ah, ils ont
supports.
complètement
There are supports
complètement
that are only
craqué.
available at in-game, but they're much more powerful. Like Ratha's Assault. It's
Attends,
an
what?
upgraded version of double barrel that reloads your skill as you dodge roll, as well as increasing the number of bolts it can hold. But it does mean that it's the only way you can reload the skill now. Now, unlike regular supports, you can't find these through the uncut support gem. Just like unique items, many of these can be found from specific bosses.
Oh, des gemmes support dédiées aux boss.
And
Oh,
there's a ton in the regular
un
drop
peu
pool
comme les
too.
Awakeners. Oh, ils sont en train de revoir le système.
Some of them are fairly rare, others fairly common.
Oh, quoi?
Some of them are build defining, others are just straight up power upgrades. All in all, there's around 40 lineage supports being added throughout the endgame, so there's a lot
Oh,
of power to find out there.
what?
Now, the new support gems are certainly going to open up a lot of builds, but of course we have a huge range of improvements to individual character classes as well. As well as adding new skills, we had a big focus on buffing
Oh,
existing
là, ils ont
skills so that
bossé,
they can
là.
scale well into the endgame.
Ah, ils ont
There's a huge amount
bossé.
to cover here,
Ah, ils
so we're
ont
not gonna
fait
discuss
ça aux petits
everything.
oignons.
We're just going to quick fire through some of the
Ça,
coolest
ah,
changes.
ok, les gars, on arrête
We
tout, on
wanted to
va
make
s'entraîner
cold
sur
more useful
PoE2
element on
cette
the
semaine.
range, so we've expanded the cold tools available.
Oh, what?
As well as increasing its range, Escape Shot now creates fragments of ice whenever it hits the ground. These fragments
Oh, trop bien, ça,
explode
le
after a short
rework
time,
d'Escape
making
Shot,
the skill
ok.
better for killing groups of enemies.
Oh, pas mal, ça.
But not only that, we added an ice fragment support that creates more of them when killing frozen enemies. And a new buff skill called Ice Tipped Arrows that allows all your arrows to create ice fragments.
Putain,
This
trop
already gives
bien.
clear to rangers wanting to use ice. But to take further advantage of the ice fragments, Freezing Salvo has been upgraded to shoot additional cold arrows towards every fragment, giving you a nuke-like ability.
What? Oh, trop bien. C'est incroyable, ça, par contre, au score.
We've also modified Snipe to consume frozen from enemies, dealing a huge amount more
C'est
damage,
exactement ça, on
giving you a
s'en frotte
nice
les
ice
mains,
single
là.
target option.
Trop bien.
And something you might notice about
Oh, c'est
this is that
frais,
the
là.
bonus is a lot higher
Oh
against
là
bosses.
là.
This is actually a change you'll see throughout the entire game. Since it's a lot harder to freeze a boss, you should get a bigger reward for it. Another theme you'll see throughout the game is making movement feel better. Toxic Growth is a skill that was pretty cool, but a bit annoying to use with the jump that it had. Now Toxic Growth is a range skill, so you can spam it more easily.
Ouais, ça a l'air incroyable.
And we've also added a new poison skill while we were at it, called Toxic Domain. It creates a small area around you that makes all your attacks create toxic growth pustules, but attached to monsters.
What?
Another skill that was annoying to use was Electrocuting Arrow. It's now just a regular arrow, making it easier to use.
Assure là.
But it also means you
Assure
can
là.
support it with projectile supports. And it now also has area of effect, making it a tool for more than just single target. And
C'est
allowing it to
incroyable.
scale into the endgame.
Mirage
We
archi.
also added a new spirit reservation.
Oh, ils ont
called
rajouté le mirage, trop bien.
This is a meta
Oh, ça a l'air
skill that
sexy
allows
de
you to
jouer
create
Arc cette
shadowy
ligue.
clones of yourself to use a skill of your choice.
Ah, ça a l'air sexy. Sympa qu'ils aient mis un mirage en
Of
mode
course, one of the
clone.
other big problems the ranger
Au
had
lieu
was
qu'il soit au-dessus de toi.
survivability. Evasion was the weakest of the three defenses, and we wanted to change that. Currently, evasion doesn't evade all types of hits in the game, so you're still vulnerable to things like slams or unblockable attacks. To make evasion characters more tanky, we're adding a new mechanic called Deflect.
Oh, défait.
Unlike evasion, Deflect works on everything, and if you successfully deflect a hit, you take 40% less damage.
Oh, ça a l'air trop
Items can now
fort.
give you a mod that gives you some amount of deflection based on your evasion.
Oh, le deflect.
And there's a bunch of it available on the passive
Ça a l'air
tier too.
n'importe quoi.
Deflection
Oh,
is rolled
ça a
with
l'air
additional
tellement
evasion.
nimp.
So
Qu'est-ce qu'ils
this
ont
is an
changé pour
upgrade to regular
l'armure?
hits too. And unlike evasion, there's no maximum chance. You can reach 100% deflect against all hits if you spec into it enough. Of course, this is a buff that helps all Dex characters, so the Mercenary and the Monk, but especially the Huntress, are seeing big defense boosts from this as well.
Bah ouais, là.
Speaking of defensive mechanics, let's talk about block and parry.
Ah,
Now,
le bloc
one
et la
of the big
parade, qu'est-ce qu'il y a?
concerns on the release of the Huntress was parry feeling unreliable. One of the big reasons for this is there's a lot of hits that are not blockable, and thus not parryable either. So a huge balance change we're making is that now everything is blockable, except for specifically unblockable red flash skills that bosses use.
Oh, est vrai. Oh, tout est bloquable.
This makes parry much more reliable.
Oh,
And not only
what?
that, but to make block and parry nicer to use, you now also move faster than before while using these abilities. This is a massive buff to passive block as well. So to counter that, we did have to lower the max passive
Oh
block a bit,
là là
but
là.
overall you should feel much safer.
Si, non, pari et bloc, Locke. Ils en ont parlé là.
Fire skills on the warrior were not
Pour la
really
parade
cutting
et
the
le bloc,
monster,
là,
so we
t'as l'impression
decided
que t'as
we
des.
needed to
Tu
upgrade
vas
a
aller un
bunch
peu
of
plus
them,
vite,
but
c'est
also
ce que
add
j'ai
some more
capté
as
là.
well. Let's start with a buff.
Ah, parce que là,
Volcanic
avant,
fish are now branches
ils ont
with
montré le bloc avec le
multiple
guerrier,
fishes, giving it much
et
more
ils ont
clearing
montré
potential.
la parade avec la Huntress.
We've also added a
C'est
new
passé
skill
par le
called
centre.
Forge Hammer.
Je vais
This
augmenter.
skill throws a molten hammer that does a slam at a distance. You can recall the hammer back by using the skill again if you like, but the cooler thing to do is to use a war cry near it. Using a war cry makes the hammer explode, making a bunch of volcanic fishes around.
Un marteau que tu
Volcanic
balances.
fishes re-trigger when you slam them, so it's a great skill to make a flaming arena to fight a boss.
Ouah, génial, putain, c'est magnifique.
We also buffed Perfect Strike to have a much larger area of effect, and changed Molten Blast to not always force you to move forward. Trust me, it feels a lot better to use now. The skill now has massively boosted chance to ignite monsters as well.
Oh, trop bien le Molten
And you're
Blast,
going to want to
putain,
ignite
truc sympa.
monsters due to a new glory skill called Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Cry charges up with glory by igniting monsters, invoking King Kalm's favor. After you do, use it to channel Kalm's ancestral power. Every attack will be ancestrally boosted with fire. Your very steps will explode, triggering volcanic fishes, and molten balls will erupt from your attacks. Warrior shield skills were another area we wanted to improve. Now that we've got Sprint, we actually don't need to have a cooldown on shield charge anymore. It now also does more damage the further away you are when you use it.
Oh, t'as plus de cooldown sur le shield charge, what?
Shield wall got
Oh, la taille du shield.
significantly upgraded AoE.
Oh, what?
Also, you can shield charge right through it.
Là,
to
tu
trigger
crées
all
une
the
muraille
walls.
de Chine en 2-2. Improbable, ça,
We
par
also added a
contre.
new shield war cry.
Fortify.
Fortifying Cry gives you a defensive
Oh,
buff,
le comeback
but
de
it also builds up charge on
Fortify.
your shield that empowers your other shield skills. And Magma Barrier now doesn't require
Putain,
timing
ouais,
in
ça a
order
l'air
to
sexy
use.
avec
Just
ce
wait for your
truc-là,
shield
ouais.
to charge up and block. Seismic
Oh, les
Cry now
annonces
stunts
de
enemies that
dingue,
are prone to
là.
stun.
Les annonces de dingue.
And we changed the Sunder interaction with Armor Break. It now also gives a Sundered Armor debuff that makes enemies take 40% extra physical damage.
Oh, du Forti
Great for
extra.
bosses.
What?
Ancestral Warrior Totem has undergone some pretty significant changes too. We wanted the skill to feel more like using an ultimate. That summoning an ancestor to fight for you was a big deal. So we've changed this totem to require 3 endurance charges to summon, and massively buffed its damage. It also now scales your weapon damage too.
Oh, ça a l'air incroyable avec Ancestral Warrior, là,
Since there's no limit
le
anymore,
Hammer of the
if you build
Forge.
around generating endurance charges, you can summon an entire forest of totems.
Oh, le nombre de
In order to make that
totems.
easier, we added some new sources of endurance charges. There's now a support to make Perfect Strike generate charges, and a support for generating endurance charges from heavy stuns as well.
Ok, trop bien.
Speaking of totems, we wanted to upgrade the Warbringer. Among the other changes we've made to this class, Answered Call now gives an extra totem, and the spirits have just been generally buffed in many ways.
Oh, what?
Use it with your limitless ancestral warrior
Ah, ça a
forest
l'air
to make
pas
an
mal,
army of
celui-là.
Karui that would make Tukahama proud.
Oh, le Warbringer, là.
We've also merged the Great Wolf Howl and Warcaller's Bellow support, so that you can get all the benefits with 1 point.
Oh, trop bien ce qu'ils ont fait.
And Encased in Jade no longer removes the Jade when getting hit, making it a much better defense.
Wow.
Next up, let's talk about accuracy. Accuracy was always intended to be something that warriors didn't need to care about very much so long as they're in close combat. But unfortunately, that's not currently the case. This was particularly annoying with skills like Bone Shatter, which you certainly don't want to mess with. So we significantly buffed your chance to hit at close ranges when you don't have much accuracy. Warriors shouldn't require any accuracy investment in order to hit with close range attacks now.
D'accord, sympa, ouais. Donc ils ont vraiment buffé
We
l'accuracy
also
pour les
wanted to
warriors.
improve armor. Now, one of the major weaknesses of
Ok,
armor is the
augmentation de
inability to
l'armure.
defend against elemental damage. In order to mitigate this, we're adding a lot more of the stat that allows your armor to defend against elemental damage. It's now available on items and in a lot more places on the passive
Oh,
tree.
et ils ont vraiment buffé les défenses, là. Mais je pense que ça veut aussi
One
dire
of the
qu'on va
most
avoir
important
mais
improvements we've made
tellement
in
de
030 is to
hits violents à
decouple the
digérer
action
dans
and
la
flow of
gueule.
shooting crossbows. You can now reload crossbows without any movement penalty. But not
Plus de
only that,
mouvement de
all
pénalité
skills
quand
that
tu
can be used while
recharges.
moving now slow you for a shorter amount of time.
Waouh.
This change benefits everyone, not just crossbow skills.
Et ils ont vraiment tout
With both of
changé.
these
hein.
changes put together, the run and gun playstyle feels much
Sacré
better.
mage, hein. Oh, sacré mage.
It's hard to explain how important this change is for the feel of the class. The Mercenary is also a good chance to talk about how we're rebalancing to make comboing skills much better. Take Shock, for example. It buffs damage and lasts 4 seconds right now, but that isn't really giving you enough time to take advantage of it. If you're going to add a lightning skill into a build that otherwise wouldn't use one, we need to make mechanics like this much better. So we've increased shock duration on monsters to last 8 seconds.
Oh, le choc à 8
And skills
secondes.
like Plasma Blast, which are intended to be good at shocking enemies, now increase the damage bonus by a lot more.
Oh, ça a l'air nimp.
You'll find changes like this all around the game. Chill now lasts 8 seconds, giving you more of a reason to weave in cold damage. Freezing skills are better at freezing. Burning skills need to cause burns that last longer. But making skills like Permafrost Bolts and Incendiary Shot double down on how they're supposed to be used,
Oh
it
là
makes
là,
using
trop
them in your build
bien.
alongside other
Ils ont
skills
vraiment,
feel
ils
much
sont
more
vraiment,
likely.
ils sont vraiment partis. Ils sont
We're also
vraiment
making
pété
sure
un
to buff
câble.
specific combos too.
Il y a tellement
The
de
freeze explosions from
modifications.
frag rounds now
Gros
change
buff
nearby
là sur
enemies.
les munitions d'arbalète là.
And using high velocity rounds with armor break will now fragment the opponent's armor. This causes monsters to take a portion of high velocity rounds damage with every subsequent hit, even tiny pellets. So that means following it with a shotgun blast is way more effective.
Oh, trop bien.
Now there's a lot more buffs to crossbow skills, but for now I'm just going to talk about the new one we added, the Mortar
Mortar.
Cannon. This one lets you socket any grenade skill, and using it will summon a cannon which loads and then fires the grenade you choose.
Oh, ils ont sorti les mortiers. Quoi? C'est pas mal.
Another issue on the
Ah,
mercenary were
c'est un autre
banners.
type de
They were
tourelle.
just not very good, so we're doing a big upgrade to them. They now last longer, don't disappear when moving out of them, and we removed the Valor mechanic. They now just give a much more consistent and stronger buff, and you can use them when you get enough glory.
Oh, what?
On which, one of the main focuses was making various minion types more useful to use together. Melee minions in particular were just not that great compared to ranged ones. As a starting point, we just straight up removed the
Il y a tellement
requirement
de
for minions to
choses.
have accuracy.
Et les gars, on est même pas à la. Mais les gars, on est même
Attack
pas à la.
minions now always hit, which makes them way better.
On est juste en train de voir les
Fruit's got
augmentations
some
de
good
classe là.
numeric buffs, but we also added a new command skill where they do a war cry that intimidates enemies and detonates any frozen monsters and
Skeletal
allies
brute.
around you
Oh,
with a
les-
big cold explosion.
Oh, les golems que t'inventes là, mais. Oh, il y a la gueule
We've
des
also changed the
trucs.
Frost Mage's command skill to an ability that adds ice armor to your other minions, adding a layer of defense. And it makes them deal cold damage back to the attacker as well. The ice armor
Waouh.
also makes the minion count as frozen.
Waouh,
so the
ça a l'air
brutes walk back
incroyable,
and
chat,
detonate them
vraiment.
too.
Je suis choqué, il y a tellement de choses.
Unearth was changed to work on corpses of your dead skeletons, allowing you to summon the minions more easily in boss fights. And they also got a new jump ability, allowing them to get into combat faster. Ray's Spectre was also feeling pretty weak for the spirit cost they have. To
Ils
be
ont réduit le
honest, we
coût
were a
en
little
spirit.
afraid of these when we first balanced them. We've both decreased the spirit cost for a large range of monsters, and have significantly increased Spectre damage too. They should feel a lot more impactful. There's also a lot of new spellcaster weapons with newer cult skills.
Oh,
I'll
nouveau.
just talk about one of them that I thought was particularly cool.
Oh, ils sont non, ils ont
The
pas sorti.
Reaper Staff is actually a wicked scythe.
Oh, ils sont
that gives you a
ils
new
ont ça.
ability called
Let's go.
Reap.
Ah
When
oui,
an enemy
ils ont
is
sorti
low on
Rip.
life, you
Attends,
can
ça a l'air
dash forward and
incroyable.
break enemies with the scythe to cull them
Oh,
instantly.
ça a l'air génial.
It can also inflict critical
Oh, mon
weakness
skill
on enemies
préféré.
too.
Un de mes skills
Now,
préférés
there's a
en
lot of balance
spell.
changes in the Witch's
Oh,
Ascendancy classes, but I'll
nice.
just talk about 2 of them for now. On the Blood Mage, you were previously
Ah,
required to
ils ont
spend your
enfin
first
sorti
points on
Reap.
Sanglemancy, which really was supposed to be the downside for being able to access the powerful abilities on the rest of the class. In order to make picking the Blood Mage a better early option, we made Sanglemancy free, unlocking the power of the rest of the class immediately. On the Infernalist,
Oh,
the Demon form
Sanglemancy
wasn't something people were really using
What?
because you lost your weapon stats while transformed. Well, you no longer do, so it's a much better option now. On the Monk, the wind skills needed a big upgrade for sure. Staggering
ils ont
Palm
rajouté
can now
les buffs
stack
des-
up its duration if you use the skill multiple times in a row,
Oh, trop bien.
so you can keep the effect of all your skills throwing up wind much more easily.
What? Oh, les
Wind
skills
Blast had
vent
the
là.
purpose of building up to dazing an enemy, but dazing just wasn't worth all that effort. Now it just dazes on hit, meaning a single Wind Blast will make all your skills stun enemies more easily. Following up with Vaulting Impact on a dazed enemy previously did a bunch of stun. Now it allows you to break your enemy's stance. When their stance is broken, following up with a fast attack will do way more damage.
Oh.
A
They
cool
get
build that
stance.
certain people always enjoyed in PoE 1 was hand-to-hand combat, but until now we just didn't have a real way to make it viable. Well, that changes now. The Monk, as a true martial artist, now has the ability to learn the Hollow Palm technique, a keystone that lets you use all quarterstaff skills while unarmed. All quarterstaff
un
attacks
gameplay
now have
à
a
la
special
en
unarmed
quoi?
version, and you get further bonuses to all your attacks from stacking energy shield and evasion on your character.
Oh mais attends, what? Quoi? Tu joues en mode ninja? Oh, Avatar,
A
maître
new
de
keystone
l'air,
we
it's
also
you!
added to the monk section of the tree is Walker of the Wilds.
Oh, ça a l'air incroyable! Oh, le
This changes
gameplay à la
mana to
main
work
là!
with elemental damage
Oh, on va
instead of
jouer ça
physical,
direct.
which is pretty useful for all those elemental attacks the monk has, but it works well for the ranger too.
Ah, ça va boxer!
Now, one of the least used ascendancy classes in the game is the Acolyte of Chayula, so we knew we
Acolyte.
needed to make some changes here. One of the key things we had to do was make the chaos damage that the Acolyte can do much more useful.
Oh, les chaos damage, qu'est-ce
So
qu'on a?
we've added a new skill, allowing chaos damage to ignite, shock, chill, and freeze, embracing the elemental prowess of the monk in a
wow.
truly chaotic fashion.
Oh, quoi?
In addition, he can make all of his chaos damage leech. And we've
Oh,
buffed
let's
into the
go.
breach
Oh
and
oui,
embraced the
on va
darkness
enfin jouer
by moving the
Chayula,
effects of the
let's
4-point
go.
nodes into the base skills. He also gains a new notable, Grasp of the Void, which leaves void illusions behind you as you dodge roll. If they're killed, they do massive explosions of darkness, dealing damage to everything in sight. Now,
Oh,
let's
ça a l'air
talk about
tellement stylé, au
sorceress skills.
secours! Oh là
One
là,
of the
ils ont
things we
fait
wanted
aussi
to improve
un
in the sword
taf
is
sur
the
le
ability to use
moine!
multiple elements together more effectively.
Non mais là...
Now, this might seem small, but one of the things pushing you towards using a single element is debuffs like elemental curses, which lower resistances of a single element. In order to fix that, we're making quite a lot of game-wide changes to these kinds of mechanics to broaden what they apply to. So for example, there's no longer 3 curses for fire, ice, and lightning. Instead, there's just a single curse that buffs all 3 at the same time.
Ah, elemental weakness, nice.
And things like Frost Bomb, which gave you cold exposure, now give elemental exposure. You can use it to buff any of your other skills. We also wanted to make switching between different weapon sets smoother, so you can use different elemental staves more effectively. To do that, we've removed the weapon switch time, and now happens instantly. This applies
Attends,
game-wide
quoi?
too.
Le weapon what? Le weapon
Now, we
swap
didn't just want to stop there.
c'est du
We wanted
cast
to
time
add some
instant.
specific mechanics that work between different elements, and that's where elemental infusions come in. Certain skills can now drop elemental infusions. For example, when a frost bomb explodes, it leaves behind a cold infusion on the ground. After picking it up, you can spend it on one of any number of different skills to transform how they work. Spark will create a nova of cold-infused projectiles.
Oh,
Ice Nova
what?
will leave a chilled area on the ground. And we also added a new low-level skill that fires ice shards. Use it with cold infusion though, and the ice shards will explode. Orb of
Oh,
Storms
ça a l'air
now generates
incroyable.
lightning infusions when you cast enough spells near it. And that's all spells, by the way, not just lightning. Once you have one, you could cast a lightning flame wall, which adds both fire and lightning damage to all the projectiles
Oh,
that pass
sympa
through.
ça pour les spellcasters en vrai.
Or power up Ember Fusillade with lightning, which will generate arcs to nearby enemies as each fireball hits. Or maybe go lightning on lightning with arc. This skill is now a projectile, and by infusing it, you can go full Palpatine. Get fire infusions by blowing up monsters with living bomb. Then use them with Comet to summon a giant fire meteor
Ça a
from
l'air
the sky.
génial, ça a l'air
Or use it with
incroyable.
Firestorm, which transforms it from a small area into a much bigger one.
What?
Firestorm is unique in that it can be infused by multiple different elements at the same time. Add an ice infusion to rain down ice at the same time as the fire. And add lightning to add deadly strikes from the heavens into the mix.
Ça a l'air trop
Or use
bien
it
tout
with
ce
all
qu'ils ont
3 to
fait.
generate a storm that is truly apocalyptic.
Wow.
Cold Snap has been simply turned
Ça a
into
l'air vraiment
Snap.
sympa de jouer le spellcaster.
Previously, you could use it to shatter ice, but now it works to detonate all of the different elemental ailments and makes them leave behind infusions. And just like how you could previously use it on Frostbolt, you can now also use it on Orb of Storms and Solar Orb to detonate those as well, which means you can create many infusions at once.
Wow.
You
Quel
also have a
plaisir.
Spirit Reservation skill and a support gem to help generate them too.
Siphon Elements Harmonic Remnants.
On the passive tree, we've added quite a few new keystones to the Sorceress section. Here are a couple of examples. The Black
Wow.
Flame Covenant keystone converts your fire spells to chaos and causes your ignites to deal chaos damage. Your fire spells and ignites will also turn purple.
Oh, quoi?
The Ritual
Attends,
Cadence
quoi?
keystone
Mais
causes
c'est
your
incroyable ça comme
invocation
effet
skills to
visuel au
trigger more
secours.
times. It makes them trigger periodically over a longer duration instead of
Non,
one.
mais c'est
Great for
insane.
those auto bomber builds. Now, in addition to skill changes, we've added a lot more options for the passive tree for each class. Overall, there are more than 100 new notables on the tree, usually around 20 per class, along with
Ok,
smaller
qu'est-ce que
clusters
ça donne
as
l'arbre de
well.
talent maintenant?
Check out the old version. And here's the new version.
Oh,
It's a lot
purée.
more dense and there's more interesting nodes than before.
Oh purée. Oh
Now, we
purée.
probably can't go through too many of these in the live stream, so I'll just show you one from each class's area of the tree. We tried to be a lot more thematic with the new nodes. So for example, the Molten One's Gift. It lets the benefit of armor break apply to your fire damage. Or how about Last Stand, which gives you lots of stats as your situation becomes more and more desperate.
Oh, what?
A lot of these have themes aligning with ascendancy classes.
Oh, le
Like for the
100% increase
Genuine
attack
Legionnaire, for
damage.
example. You have crystallized immunities, which makes you immune to different status ailments, depending on which support gem color you have socketed the most. Another ascendancy class aligned notable is Sanguimatic Rituals. It allows arcane surges to generate life instead of mana, unlocking that support gem to be used
Oh,
with the
Arcane
Blood Mage
Surge qui te
Ascendancy.
régène de la vie. Ah, c'est dingue ça.
In the Sork area, you'll find these Archon nodes that allow you to convert all of your elemental damage to a specific element.
Oh, pour les
You
mana
become a
stackers
lightning Archon
là.
when you spend enough mana, after which all your skills will be converted to lightning, and you will do extra lightning damage as well. We have ones for cold and fire too, with different triggers.
Ça a l'air
Here's another
incroyable.
cool one. Elemental Practitioner gives crit
Tout ce
bonuses
qu'ils
if
ont
you've triggered a
fait.
skill recently, while also making crits generate more energy for triggers. Or maybe you'd like the Great Boar. It gives you a reason to stack dexterity to make you tougher, giving a bonus
Oh,
to
le
life
stack
and
dex.
stun threshold.
Oh oui, ça a l'air sympa. De la force et du
Or
stun
the
threshold.
Cunning Fox. It straight up gives you 5% quality to all your gems.
Wow. Ça
Now,
pour le
another major
mercenaire.
change is attribute requirements. We felt like players probably had a few too many nodes and attributes and not enough in interesting passives. So we lowered attribute requirements by 25% across the board.
Ok, 25% de
That means
réduction,
you'll
c'est
have
pas
more
mal. Hein.
points to spend on interesting notables rather than just needing to allocate more strength, dex, and int. Now, there are way more changes than just these. These are just some of the cooler ones we wanted to show off, but I'd say that's just about enough for now. We're not even half done yet. So I think it's time that we talk about the League, the rise of the Abyssal. And to do that, I'd like to hand things over to Mark.
As you just saw, even though there are major changes to the campaign for this update, we want to make sure that every time you come
les
back
gars,
for an
c'est
expansion,
incroyable, hein.
each
Hypé ou
area
pas,
feels
là?
different with something extra going on. It is really important to make sure your experience when returning between expansions is fresh and filled with new content. And the way we did this was through leagues. Every expansion we make has a league, which not only has a fresh economy, but also has new content exclusively available in that league. So, let's delve into the details of what Path of Exile 2's first official league is bringing to the table. The Abyssal are a race that have mastery of forbidden magics and necromancy. They were thought to be extinct, but have merely been biding their time underground. You first encounter signs of the Abyssal in Clarefell, where you discover that during the night, weaker members of the Undead Legion have been attacking the encampment. The townsfolk require your help to investigate where the monsters are coming from and put a stop to their attacks.
Out there, ancient creatures, lurking beneath the surface.
As you proceed through Rayclast, you'll find fissures in the earth connected to larger pits. The monsters normally inhabiting the area are being affected by it, harmed by it even, having their souls eaten to strengthen the Abyssal underground. As you defeat the monsters, the fissure closes and Abyssal emerge, angered by you killing their food. Once all those fissures have been sealed, the pit activates, and more Abyssal pour out. This is where the larger and more dangerous
pas mal le
monsters
design
reveal
du
themselves,
fight, en vrai,
as
c'est cool.
hordes of Abyssal spew out from the pit to take your soul.
C'est magnifique en vrai, hein. Pas mal ce qu'ils ont fait.
If you kill a magic pack, then magic Abyssal arise. If you kill a rare, then a rare monster will emerge from the pit, having absorbed some or all of its modifiers for itself. This means the monsters emerging will generally be more difficult and more rewarding, as each modifier gives better rewards.
Ah oui, d'accord.
If you are able to kill them all,
Qu'est-ce qu'on a-
the
qu'est-ce qu'on a
pit
comme
will
item?
seal shut. As each pit is closed, it reveals a potential reward. Abyssal troves will rise up out of the pits, allowing you to
Alors.
get some epic loot.
Abyssal ou pas?
Areas often contain many pits, with many fissures, and the amount goes up as you progress through the game, getting more intense. It doesn't stop there. When monster mods are absorbed, they have a chance to become infused with the dark necromancy, transforming them into abyssal modifiers.
Oh, les Abyssal
For
modifiers,
example,
yes.
you defeat this monster with the Mana Siphoner modifier. Their soul is eaten by the pit, and a rare monster emerges. The Mana Siphoner modifier has transformed into Soul Siphoner and is now amplified in danger and reward. Abyssal pits also interact with other monsters and mechanics. If you defeat a rogue exile that's near one, it'll be revived as a Lichborn that has multiple Abyssal modifiers. Lichborn exiles even have their own unique jewel they can drop, if you are lucky enough to encounter and kill them. If an abyss spawns near a boss, killing it will summon a gigantic Giga Larvae creature.
Oh, c'est tellement stylé, what?
Monsters and
Oh, la
prisons and
giga
essences near
larve.
abyssal pits are affected by the abyss too.
Non mais Abyss, ça a l'air
They
incroyable
will
comme
come with
rework
an
là.
additional new essence item that can be used to craft your items.
Essence of the Abyss, quoi?
So, that's your bread and butter of the Abyssal League. Kill surface
Putain, mais
dwelling
la
monsters,
transformation des
kill the
monstres,
emerging
insane.
abyssal, close the fissures, overcome pit encounters, and reap the rewards. There's a lot more to this league, however. As you complete abysses, you can find ancient pieces of bone, preserved from the remains of fallen Lichborn.
Wow.
These are one of the many rewards for your mission to seal the pits.
C'est
You can
incroyable.
use this on a rare item to imbue it with abyssal magic, adding a special hidden modifier to your item. But
Oh.
how do you reveal it?
Nice.
In Act 2 of the campaign, you'll encounter a new area. This area is overrun by the Abyssal and the Lost Men. After clearing through this area, you'll find the Well of Souls, a giant cavity with a massive vortex of souls swirling beneath you. So how do you reveal the mods on your Abyssal-infused items? Obviously, just throw them in, right? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Before throwing it in, you are given the option of how you want to transform it, in the form of a choice of 3 different modifiers.
Ok, donc syndicat.
Once you've chosen your desired mod, throw it in, where it will absorb the power of the souls, and the ominous creature will then retrieve it for you. These modifiers can be ones from the core mod pool, all the way through to specialized modifiers that cannot normally appear on items. During the campaign, you can use it as a way to more easily add useful existing mods, but during the endgame, there is a whole set of new and powerful mods you can add to your items.
Wow, c'est incroyable.
Like this mod for crossbows, that allows you to place an additional ballista totem.
Oh, le maximum number, wow.
Or this one, that adds spirit to your staff.
Oh, quoi?
Or this one, that allows you to generate more combo with your quarterstaff skills.
Oh.
And speaking of endgame, you can also use the system to craft waystones. With a preserved vertebrae fused into your waystones, you can get some new modifiers that push difficulty and rewards to new heights. Here are some examples of those mods.
Oh, quoi, le
You
crafting.
always get a choice of 3, so you
Oh,
can
ça a l'air
avoid
vraiment pas
anything you
mal
don't
pour les
think your
maps,
character
hein.
is capable of.
Ok, sympa.
With this modifier, the natural inhabitants of the area are all spawned near abysses. And there are
Abyss,
up
ça a
to 9
l'air
additional
vraiment,
abyssal pits in the
vraiment,
area,
vraiment bien
making
fourni
it
là.
just a full-on abyss ruckus. Or this one, which causes the final abyssal pit in the area to always result in a boss encounter, be it either one underground or one that emerges out. There are dozens of these waystone modifiers in total you can get from this crafting. That covers the new crafting mechanic. So what's left? Well, we talked about how when closing pits you can get abyssal troves, but sometimes when closing an abyss, you'll reveal an underground cavern that leads to the abyssal depths. After jumping into the depths, you'll find an abyssal city, swarming with legions of the undead. When underground, every single rare abyssal enemy will have an abyssal modifier.
Ah oui.
And at the end of the dungeon, you'll even find a rare with a more powerful Lichborn modifier. Once you're able to defeat this powerful rare, you can also find some nice rewards. Aside from the entire area being valuable due to the abyssal modifiers on the monsters, it has its own specific drops too.
Le retour des abyssal trolls.
One example is a set of lineage supports that can rarely be found in these depths, like Kurgel's Leash. This support empowers both you and your minions when you command them, granting unholy might to you both. Another depth-specific outcome is a set of omen-like items that amplify your abyssal crafting.
Oh, tu peux reroll les options avec ça.
Additionally, we're adding some new socketables that can drop from the abyssal depths. Take Ulliman's Gaze, which can be socketed into your armor.
Okay.
These are a bit special in that you can only have one equipped at a time, but give some pretty powerful effects. Think of them as almost a unique socketable for your equipment. In the endgame, where you can still find depths, you also start to find a different type of underground chamber.
Okay.
In these areas, you'll find an ancient spire, a
un peu
device
comme
being used by
le
commanders of the
version
Abyssal
Abyss.
factions to plunge Rayclast into a lightless void. Your goal is simple. Kill this commander and destroy the spire. There are 4 bosses in the Abyss League, and there are some pretty cool uniques available from them. An example is this belt, Darkness Enthroned.
Ah, trop bien.
It has 2 sockets. But hold on, socketables don't work on belts. Well, this belt has a special mod that allows it to count as a different slot for the purpose of
Ah,
socketables.
trop bien.
This one, for
Wow.
example, counts as a helmet. I kind of want one that counts as a body armor. I wonder how rare that one is. You can also find this unique jewel, Undying Hate.
Oh,
This jewel transforms part of your passive skill tree into an
oh
abyssal
le
version
retour des légions.
and has multiple depths.
Oh, les
The
timeless.
deeper it goes, the more of your passive tree is affected,
Oh,
allowing you
what?
to fulfill your
Ça a l'air
fantasy of becoming
nimp.
part Abyssal Lich.
Ah, ils sont craqués. Ah ouais,
Now,
il y
the
a trop de
last
trucs
thing
là.
that Abyssal commanders can drop is a Finger of the Lich. But what use do you have with a random undead finger? Well, the next time you return to the Well of Souls, with the finger in your inventory, your character will almost feel compelled. To do what, though, you might ask? To jump in. The items you threw in came back more powerful, right? So, what's the worst that could happen? Well, you will just have to find that one out for yourself. Along with
les
the
teasers.
introduction of Act 4 and the Interlude,
Putain, il y a
we
beaucoup
will
de
be
choses.
adding
Hein.
25 new in-game maps. These maps will contain all the new monsters and bosses we're adding, improving variety and giving you opportunities to experience the new boss fights many times.
Trop bien.
Let's take a look at some examples. Rock Pools is a map where you explore a shallow rocky coastline, surrounded by coral
C'est
and
insane.
filled
Je
with
m'attendais pas à ce qu'ils aient
sirens.
mis autant d'upgrades.
At the end is a giant Goblin King boss, ready to eat sulfite and squish you like a bug. Holton is an Ezomite township which has seen better days. Explore and clear the township to find a gothic, Reaper-like boss, with the
Wow.
ability to manipulate storms and fry you with both lightning and wither you with chaos.
Ça a l'air vraiment trop bien.
Given
Oh,
some
Radax,
of the
ça
new
forme.
bosses added are a bit more epic, such as the Act boss and final bosses of each interlude part,
Oh, nouveaux boss et tout, et les anciens qu'on
it
a
would
déjà
be a
vus.
bit of a waste to just use them as regular map bosses.
Waouh, il y en a des nouveaux, ouais, Célina, Bleu Trieste,
Instead,
Bloody.
we'll be adding some new mechanics to the Atlas that use them.
Oh, les nouvelles mécaniques
These
de...
start appearing pretty fast into the endgame and will help bridge the gap until you do your pinnacle bosses. In the desert biome, you can encounter a wild sandstorm. 3 maps around the sandstorm contain a device you must activate. Upon doing this, the sandstorm's magic is disrupted, revealing the map inside and allowing you to access it and find the cause.
Trop bien.
This presents itself in the form of a boss, similar to the existing Citadel bosses. This boss is a Faradin Swordmaster, who has been blessed with the power of a time gem, allowing him to take his
Wow.
swordsmanship to the next level by replicating himself, maneuvering rapidly, and severing the fabric of time itself with his
Il a l'air
powerful slashes.
incroyable ce boss. Oh,
In the water biome, you'll encounter a giant maelstrom, where one of
what?
the maps surrounding the water biome connects to it, but the connection is obscured.
Et ouais, clair.
You must run the maps nearby,
Pas de nouvelle
hoping
classe,
to find a
effectivement.
beacon,
Mais
which
d'un
will
côté, vaut
remove the
mieux ça que des
maelstrom
nouvelles
and
classes pas trop
reveal the
finies qui servent à
connection to
rien,
that
tu vois.
map. Another example is this Val Vault
Ça a
in
l'air
the mountain
incroyable. Ça a
biome.
l'air incroyable. Tout ce
But
qu'ils
how
ont
do we get
rajouté,
inside?
t'as mal au crâne, hein, vraiment.
Running the adjacent maps to it will yield a key, which you can then use to gain access to this vault. Or, you could just trade for one, I guess. Use the key to dispel the powerful force field surrounding it, leading to the Val Elite and their rewards inside. These all contain Uber versions of the Act 4 boss, and the bosses at the end of each part of the interlude. and each have their own exclusive drop pool of new lineage supports, which, as Jonathan spoke about earlier, are powerful support gems that modify your skills in pretty crazy ways. As an example of a lineage support which can come from the Faradin Swordmaster mentioned earlier, we have Garukan's Resolve, which causes your critical strikes to fork, but requires some mobility on your part to properly enable. From the boss sealed in the Val Vault, we have Paquate's Pact, which supports your war cries, causing them to inflict massive amounts of corrupted blood at the cost of your own life. Additionally, some maps can now spawn summoning circles, a room resembling an Ezomite henge. Activating this henge will spawn bosses. It's as simple as that. We'll also be making changes to how affixes and waystones work, as the current prefixes equals good, suffixes equals bad iteration isn't quite hitting the mark. We tried something new here in Path of Exile 2, but after seeing the feedback we decided we actually liked what we had in Path of Exile 1 more. Like Path of Exile 1, each affix will now be both difficult and rewarding. Waystone mods now grant an increase to the number of waystones dropped, and an additional specific upside attached to it. This means as you roll your map, they will continue to get more difficult and more rewarding, and allow you to customize the difficulty and rewards of your maps better. For example, the Frostbitten mod, which causes enemies to deal cold damage, also increases the rarity of items dropped as its upside. Whereas the Of Venom suffix modifier, which causes enemies to poison on hit, has the upside of granting increased pack size. Some maps will end up having a lot of rarity, some a lot of pack size, and others will just have a mixture of everything. Due to now having more modifiers granting difficulty, we will of course be reducing the difficulty per modifier to account for this. So, that's your Atlas, maps, and waystones, but what about Breach, Ritual, Pinnacle content, and others of the sort? We're making some changes around this too. The first change is that you'll now be able to invest 2 points into your specific League Atlas trees before having to run the Pinnacle content. There will be a specific objective for each type of content which grants you those points.
Déjà 2 points gratuits.
For example, in the case of Delirium, it's simple. You just need to find and kill one of the bosses in a map, Omniophobia or Kosis.
Okay.
The rest of the points for each content come from the Pinnacle content, but we're making some changes to accessibility
c'est
here
magnifique.
too.
Bah en fait, c'est un vrai atlas quoi.
Access to most Pinnacle content requires the same key at the easiest and most difficult version of the content. This creates a negative feeling where at lower difficulties, instead of wanting to run the content, you're often better off just selling it to someone who can run it at maximum difficulty.
C'est très bien pour le trade.
Each content will now drop splinters, which will not form into singular items. Instead of using the singular combined item in the realm gate, you can now just bring your splinters. Upon inserting the splinters into the realm gate, an interface will appear, allowing you to pick your difficulty, and you'll notice each difficulty has a different entry cost. This means if you want to run easier difficulties, it costs less, which also allows you to run this content much sooner into the endgame. Because these encounters now just require splinters, their corresponding Atlas tree no longer affects the difficulty of them, and has been changed to purely affect the content and maps on the Atlas. The Arbiter of Ash works a bit differently. Instead of requiring splinters, he still needs crisis fragments. We now have only 2 difficulties of the Arbiter. The first, requiring the existing fragments obtained from citadels. The second, Uber Arbiter, requires calamity fragments. These come from citadel bosses also, but only once you've allocated the maximum number of points in your boss Atlas tree, ensuring those citadels are at their highest difficulty. 2 types de fragments pour l'Arbiter maintenant.
Since
we're talking about Pinnacle content, we also felt that the leveling curve in the late game was a bit too steep. We've smoothed this out a bit so that it's easier to get to the mid-90s. We've also added some new in-game unique items. Let's take a look at a couple.
C'est bien mieux, c'est bien mieux, c'est bien mieux.
Thunderfist is a pair of gloves that grants Crackling Palm, a skill which empowers your unarmed attacks, granting the ability to call down the storms themselves on enemies you hit. Put simply, literally every monster you hit with your unarmed skills will be struck by powerful lightning. Pair this with the aforementioned hollow palm technique to embrace your true unarmed prowess in combat.
Ça a l'air trop bien, ça a l'air trop
Another
bien.
unique we're adding is Hinekura's Sight. Equip this amulet to be granted the power of the Mother of Death herself.
Alors peut-être
This is reflected by granting you a
Alors
skill
peut-être
called Foresight. While you have Foresight, your dodge roll no longer
Flicker par
avoids
exemple,
hits.
ouais.
But instead,
Ça paraît très
being
cool.
hit while dodge rolling restores you to full life and makes you unable to die for a brief period of time. You'll notice when this does occur, a copy of your character appears and takes the full damage. This is you seeing that future, as if you hadn't been wearing the amulet. Ultimately, your endgame experience should be more streamlined, with new content to find. You'll be able to invest in your Atlas trees sooner, engage with pinnacle content faster, have less FOMO running said pinnacle content, reach higher levels easier, and do all of that while finding many new chase endgame items.
C'est trop bien, vraiment.
Talking about finding items is one
Ok les gars, le
thing,
crafting,
but
on
what about
attendait
crafting?
ce chapitre-là. Qu'est-ce qu'ils vont nous donner en
We've taken
crafting?
a step back and looked at some of our crafting systems to make some notable improvements. Let's start with essences, which suffered from an issue where the regular essences were effectively useless and didn't give players the tools or excitement that a crafting system should provide. To alleviate these concerns, essences are being changed in a few ways. Firstly, they're being changed to function like regals and add specific modifiers with specific values, meaning you know exactly what you're going to get. We found that players were often bottlenecked by regal orbs when crafting in the campaign, so this helps to fill that gap, allowing you to better upgrade your items.
Ok.
For example, this Lesser Essence of Flames, which will be able to add a flat amount of fire damage to your magic martial weapons. Secondly, we're adding many more tiers.
Des lignes fixes, ok.
That Lesser Essence of Flames, for example, has a regular variant and a greater variant too, adding even more fire damage with each upgrade. The intention of this is so that when you find one early on, you don't worry about holding onto it till later to use on a higher level item. You should feel free to use them as they come to get powerful upgrades during the campaign.
Ouais, sympa, hein. Sympa.
Lastly, our highest tier of
Oh, les
essences,
perfects.
now called Perfect Essences, will function like a Chaos Orb instead of a Regal. So it will replace one of the modifiers on your rare items with the specified mod,
Ça a l'air incroyable.
such
Oh,
as
Midnight,
this
t'as pas ou quoi?
Perfect Essence of Flames.
Putain.
You'll notice this one doesn't just add flat fire damage like the ones before it. The Perfect Essences often give something a bit different,
Ça a
with
trop
some
bien.
opportunities to be pretty damn powerful.
Et les perfectes essences.
There are many different essences, each with many tiers, covering many of the more core modifiers you'd want on items early on,
Oh, trop
through to
bien.
chase specialized ones for endgame. Speaking of endgame, we really wanted to expand our crafting options for late endgame crafting projects. You might have noticed that at endgame, you get way too many transmutes. Wouldn't it be nice if some of those didn't drop, but instead you got something a little more powerful? At higher levels, you can now find Greater Orb of Transmutation and Perfect Orb of Transmutation.
Quoi?
These can be used on normal items to
No.
upgrade them to magic, ensuring that the modifier generated is of a minimum level.
Attends, quoi? Des tirs
This
de
is
horde de
similar to how you
transmute?
find
Mais c'est
higher
quoi ces
tier items on the
conneries?
ground,
Oh,
but for
quoi?
crafting.
Attends.
These higher tiers will also exist for Orb
Attends,
of
quoi?
Augmentation, Regal Orb, Exalted Orb,
Oh,
and
quoi?
Chaos Orb. Meaning
Attends,
you can get all
quoi?
of the orbs required to take
No,
your
mais-
item from normal rarity to a fully completed rare with guaranteed high tier mods.
Ah, je sais pas quoi en penser là.
On
Attends,
top
mais
of
non.
these new core crafting currencies, we wanted
Ah,
to
des
make sure there
tiers
were
sur tes
powerful
îles.
crafting bases to use them on. Now
Attends,
in
quoi?
endgame, you can start to find exceptional items. These are items that drop at normal rarity and are perfect for your from
Oh, la
scratch
qual
crafting
qui est
projects.
up.
They can come with extra quality, up to 30%,
C'est
or
dingue.
an additional socket to use your crafting socketables in. And
Oh,
yes,
attends, tu
they
peux avoir-
can be corrupted for yet another
Oh, c'est
socket.
incroyable ça. Oh, quoi?
You can also get exceptional unique items. To add even further to your crafting
C'est
arsenal,
énorme, mais.
we've added a whole suite of new omens to ritual content, and removed some of the more unimpactful ones that
Ouah,
weren't being used.
les items à 4
Some
sockets
of the new
là.
omens include the Omen of the Ancients,
Omen of the
which will
Ancient,
cause
what?
your next orb of chance to not destroy the item, but generate a random unique of the same class. Or the Omen of Sanctification, which is my new favorite. This will cause your next divine orb used on a rare item to reroll the values of its modifiers, allowing it to exceed the normal minimum and maximum values, raising the ceiling on the new most powerful rare items in the game.
Non.
This omen will also cause your item to become sanctified.
Oh la vache.
Sanctified items cannot be crafted, just like corrupted ones, so consider carefully when you use this.
Oh, c'est quoi cette ligne de
Another is the
barge?
omen of chaotic monsters,
Oh, mais
which
la
will cause your
gueule
next
des
chaos orb to
items.
reroll all modifiers on a waystone, allowing you to fix your maps if you get some modifiers that are not feasible for your build.
Oh, the fuck.
Besides these examples, there is a huge variety of new omens for you to discover in your ritual encounters.
Oh, quoi?
With the release of Act 4, notably taking
J'étais
place in
sûr,
the
j'étais
Carvery
sûr, je savais
Archipelago,
quoi, c'était
you'll
sûr
be
qu'ils
able
allaient
to
la
now
rajouter
find
avec
a
le
new
tribut, c'était
currency item,
sûr.
Henikora's Lock. Henikora, the Carvery goddess of death, has the power of foresight
C'était
and
sûr.
is able to see many
Je les call en
futures,
début de live, vous étiez là, je les
including the outcome
call.
of your next craft.
C'était sûr en
So,
vrai.
imbuing her lock onto an item gives you that same power too. For example, you'll know whether or not to use an exalted orb on your item, as you will know
Oh,
exactly
quelle
what the outcome is.
dinguerie.
So, with all these new crafting improvements,
Wow.
it's safe to say you're going to be making some epic items, and
Wow.
not necessarily just ones for yourself. So given that, it's time to talk about a massive one.
Wow,
Trade.
c'est dingue.
It's finally here. The moment we've all been waiting for. Fully asynchronous trade. Over the years, the way players trade with each other in Path of Exile 1 has morphed from using the forums, through to the in-game chat, all the way through to using the website. These systems, in all their iterations, work for a while, but with each iteration, new problems eventually reveal themselves. Be it requiring you to be in your hideout too much instead of
Okay,
out
le
there killing
trade.
monsters, or never getting responses from people who are either AFK or just can't be bothered. In order to finally solve this, and this has been a long time coming, we're adding a new system that allows you to buy items from other players without requiring the seller to be present. They can continue farming, killing monsters, AFK as they please, and can even be offline. With the introduction of King's March in Act 4, you will encounter
Oh,
Ange,
tu crois, on peut acheter
assistant
des
to
items
Vogue in the Meridian
offline.
Free Traders Company. Over the last 2 decades or so, since Path of Exile 1's storyline, Faustus has handed down his knowledge and expertise to Ange, and she is now ready to take over his business. If you have a hideout unlocked already, you can immediately invite her there. If you don't have a hideout yet, you will need to acquire one. You can do this by completing a quest to defeat one of the bosses inhabiting an island in Act 4, allowing you then to take a slice of it for yourself,
Oh, what?
making it your new
C'est une bonne
home
question, là,
and
que je sais pas
base
du
of
tout.
operations. Once invited to your hideout, she will now serve as operating your currency exchange, but also serve as the figurehead in your new trading empire. So, how does this new system work? In the existing trade system, you would list items for sale in premium stash tabs. And then when someone wanted one, you'd have to take it out for yourself and trade it to them.
Ok.
Now, instead of using those, you can give your items to Ange so she can sell them for you. Each item must have a price set. The prices are set using in-game currency items, such as exalted
Waouh,
orbs
mais
or chaos
l'économie.
orbs.
Oh, ça va être nimp.
Once a price is set, other players will be able to find the item by searching for it on the trade website. Once a
Secret
desired
item.
item has been found, you can hit a button, which will instantly teleport your character in-game to their hideout. Then, you can immediately
Oh, c'est une
purchase the
folie.
item.
Mais
And
c'est
while
dingue.
there, if you want, browse their other goods,
Tu te
in case
tais.
there's a good deal someone else hasn't yet discovered. You'll notice that as a buyer, on top of the currency the seller
Oh,
set
c'est
for the price,
dingue.
it
Oh, la
also costs gold
feature.
to purchase an
Oh,
item,
ça va tout
as
changer.
Ange has bills to pay after all. As a seller, you'll immediately receive a notification when an item of yours is sold, and can also see an effect above Ange in your hideout when she has unclaimed currency. Just go talk to her, claim your currency, and continue playing at your leisure. As many people already acquired premium stash tabs for the purpose of the trade
Mais ça va
system,
arriver dans le
we
1, ça
wanted
vous
to add
rendez
a way
compte
for
de
you to
cette
convert
dinguerie?
your existing
Oh,
tabs to merchants tabs.
oh mais le
if you
temps!
You can do that here on the website, but only if you purchase those tabs before the release of the third edict. To clarify, the existing trade system will remain fully intact, so your premium stash tabs will not lose any of their functionality. We just figured people might want to switch over to this new system. We expect a lot of feedback around this new system and are looking forward to trying it out with you. As we are not able to test internally with an entire, thriving economy, there will certainly be some kinks to work out. Based on how the system goes, we will be adding it to Path of Exile 1 when ready, so any of the tabs you purchase will also be usable there later.
Ouais, je sais pas, mais
Next up, we're going to be talking about
concept
our
est
new
bon.
supporter packs.
le concept est bon.
Today,
Enfin, je pense
we're
que
launching two
pour moi, la
new
commu,
series of supporter packs.
la commu est
The
pas
Justice
forcément...
and Trathan Executioner packs. Each tier
pas.
contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions.
Oh, le mini-griffon!
As
What?
always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way.
Ah, voilà, t'as vu, Wakaf?
The
Dinguerie.
Justice series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Claim glory after defeating enemies, or inspire your allies by calling down the Banner of Justice portal. The Sphinx Mystic hideout decoration will identify items for you, displaying them as it does so. This ancient creature has been presented with many items over the eons, so
Tellement
has
stylé.
some strong expressions to make on the quality of your wares. Become a true warrior, worthy of delivering the justice of the eternal gods,
Pas
with the
mal.
Apostle of Justice armor set.
Ah ouais, c'était beau. Putain,
This
c'est
armor set
incroyable.
also comes with a matching back attachment containing a set of scales to measure your worth. With the Apostle of Justice finisher effect equipped, the Goddess of Justice herself will appear to decide on a verdict for slain unique enemies. Witness as she decides the fate of your slain foes. Will they ascend to be amongst the gods or be banished to the underworld?
Pas mal.
The Griffin fledgling pet will be a courageous companion as you journey throughout Rayclast. Take your place in the skies in the Plateau of the Gods hideout. This hideout comes with many different sections for setting up your home or base of operations.
Archi stylé, au secours.
In order to travel between them, you simply just need to walk off the edge. Like a true eternal god, you can float between the mountains on the clouds themselves.
Quoi?
The Trathan Executioner pack
Incroyable.
series also contains 6 exclusive
Incroyable. Pas mal,
microtransactions.
pas dégueu.
The Trathan Executioner finisher effect is a brutal display of Trathan might, crushing slain unique enemies as if they were bugs beneath your heel.
Oh.
As a Trathan Executioner, you're the perfect master for the ever-hungry carrion raptor pet. It has taken a particular liking to the taste of other pets, and at your command it will swoop down and eviscerate them, proceeding to satisfy its hunger by feeding on their corpse.
Ok, stylé.
The nobles of the 4 major Trathan houses had their mercenaries, but if their hired hands became
No,
notably
no,
irritating, they'd have to call
Non,
in
mais ils sont beaux,
the
ils sont beaux.
Trathan
C'est
Executioners.
pas mal, pas dégueu.
You can now embrace their methods and become brutality incarnate with the Cruel Trathan Executioner armor set. The matching Cruel Trathan
Niveau
Executioner
armure,
cloak
je suis pas
will
hyper
shroud
emballé,
you
tu
in
vois.
scarlet
C'est
as you
pas-
crush the skulls of your enemies and leave a trail of blood behind you as you build up a kill streak. Or use the alternate variant to simply put a skeleton on your back. Be bathed in blood as you mutilate monsters with the Cruel Trathan Executioner character effect. The swirling blood increases in volume as your spree of slaughter continues. Both this effect and the cloak use the same kill streak for tracking how much blood is shown. After a long and tiring day of executions, enjoy a relaxing game of dice with the Goblin Gambler's Hideout decoration. They'll definitely be playing fair, right? The Pulverizer map device brings a horrid efficiency to punishing the damned of Trathis. Each map you open will execute the next victims. This map device in its true ruthlessness tracks the total number of monsters killed, your kills per second, and your largest kill streak up to the point of the map being completed. This is then displayed on a leaderboard so you can take a measure of you and your friends' violence at the end of each map. Additionally, any microtransactions from the supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 1. That's enough about cosmetics. Let's get into the Q&A. But firstly, I want to give a huge thank you for your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, at 11 AM NZ time, or 4 PM Pacific, we'll post Path of Exile 2, the Third Edict's patch notes. With the release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you need for the release. Keep an eye on the news.
Wow.
Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to seeing your experiences with Act 4 and its new bosses, fighting the Abyssal, trying new builds, and crafting new items. We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so please get your questions ready.
Waouh, ça fait exactement 1h10 de tabassage d'informations, de nouveautés. Waouh, c'est impressionnant et c'est impressionnant. Cette mage est impressionnante. Cette mage est impressionnante, guys. C'est vrai, j'ai pas les mots pour vous dire à quel point là je suis. En fait, en vrai de vrai, là on parle pas juste pour faire un petit résumé quand même et qu'on fasse un gros bilan de cette mage qui va arriver là. C'est impressionnant. Ça, c'est impressionnant quand même, les gars. Messieurs, dames, c'est impressionnant tout ce qu'on a eu quand même. Là, la refonte des ascendances. Alors, malheureusement, il n'y a pas une nouvelle classe. Je pense que ça en déçoit quelques-uns. Moi, le premier, parce que je m'étais dit, bon, c'est cool si on a autre chose. Hiérarchie. C'est incroyable. C'est incroyable. Ah ouais, non, l'attente va être longue, hein. L'attente va être longue, chat. Mais ouais, donc, moi, enfin, pour revenir sur les classes, moi, honnêtement, les potes, enfin, je suis quand même content parce que vaut mieux qu'ils aient refund tout ce qu'il y avait déjà de base que de juste rajouter des trucs qui vont pas être spécialement jouables ou peut-être trop utilisés. Il y a tellement de choses maintenant d'utilisables. Et là, il y a le retour des grosses currencies. Là, il y a l'histoire du syndicat avec les abysses. C'est impressionnant. C'est impressionnant, vraiment. Je sais pas à quel moment ils se sont dit, genre, là, on n'écoute pas un peu tous les retours et on n'en fait pas. Clairement, je vois cette mise à jour comme une réconciliation. Il n'y a pas d'autres termes, il n'y a pas d'autres définitions pour ça. Il y a ce côté où, déjà, on n'a plus les... Déjà, l'acte... Il y a un truc que je sais pas capter, le Reaper Staff, c'est une nouvelle âme. Le Reaper Staff te donne RIP, en fait. Mais techniquement, ça va être peut-être une gem... Alors, ça peut être une... Pas une gem skills, mais un truc qui est blindé ou qui est propre au bâton. Mais on en parlera un peu plus tard. Et déjà, en fait, on reprend dans l'ordre... Déjà, ce qui est fou, c'est l'ajout des classes, enfin la refonte des classes avec donc l'ajout des gemmes support qui sont plus du tout bridées à un seul exemplaire. Ça, c'est déjà dingue. Mais t'as aussi maintenant genre les modifications de classe où genre t'as quand même, même l'arbre de passif est beaucoup plus blindé. Trop bien le retour de la Légion là avec ces fameux passifs là qu'on remodifie, enfin ce qui est intéressant en fait, c'est que là ils font quelque chose qui est tout simplement en fait genre au lieu de se faire chier à faire une mécanique pour chaque truc, ils ont quand même fait pour Abyss un mix entre Légion et Syndicat, parce que le Unveiled Attempt c'est ce qui se passe avec les Abyss, hein. Et c'est ça que je trouve dingue, c'est que déjà de base, t'as une refonte complète, mais surtout, t'as sûrement des choses en fait que t'aurais pas pu avoir même dans le biais de l'ancienne mécanique. Bah, en parlant de Stygian, là, actuellement, t'as l'unique là qu'ils ont présenté qu'on n'a pas eu le temps de voir en détail. Mais je crois que t'as l'item qui te prend aussi des stats sur le casque ou je sais pas quoi. Mais en tout cas, ce qui est cool aussi, c'est que au niveau des ascendances, ils ont rien touché. Niveau des ascendances, ils ont rien touché. Ça sera toujours Trial of the Sekema et Trial of Chaos. Donc ça, c'est cool. Le tiers des currencies. Le tiers des currencies avec l'apparition des omens à la fin. Mais c'est quoi ces conneries? En fait, tu as donc une augmentation du tiers et je crois que tu as le rôle max. On va s'y repencher sur cette histoire. Mais ouais. Le côté où maintenant tu peux utiliser plusieurs fois la gemme support. Sans compter, il y a le sprint là. Le sprint et l'ajout d'action speed et de rapidité dans ton gameplay, non seulement déjà de base, mais en plus quand tu bloques et quand tu fais de la parade. Genre là déjà, pour celles et ceux qui ont bien suivi, qui ont peut-être déjà une préférence, qu'est-ce que vous mettez au-dessus déjà dans tout ce live en fait? Parce qu'en vrai c'est une folie, hein. C'est une folie, le fait d'avoir maintenant des vrais Uber fragments. Le fait d'avoir un atlas qui est quand même beaucoup moins chiant à faire. Parce que t'as quand même maintenant 2 points gratuits. Dès que tu fais, par exemple, la méga... Alors, j'ai pas vu ce que ça donnait pour les autres, parce qu'on a vu que Delirium avec le boss Cozy Uniphobiac que tu tues. Mais au-delà du endgame, tout le côté où... en fait, c'est des... Je sais pas, ça a l'air tellement plus safe aussi ce qu'ils ont mis dans la campagne. La mage de l'Atlas, grosso modo, je vous ai, genre, c'est très simple. Hein. Tu peux, avec Abyss, maintenant aussi, crafter tes maps. Tu peux avoir accès à 2 points directs dès que tu as juste rencontré la première mécanique de ligue liée à cette dernière. Et surtout, là, encore une fois, ils ont encore rajouté tellement de choses liées au boss. Et en reparlant des gemmes support et de ce que tu pourras build, quand même, cette variante des Awakened Spells, enfin des Awakened Gems, enfin, c'est juste fou. C'est juste fou. Moi, je suis... En fait, là, je m'étais dit, là, on va se prendre une petite semaine avant de remettre un nombre d'heures énorme. Mais là, les gars, on va déjà commencer à bosser le Kickstart, on va déjà commencer à voir ce qu'on veut jouer, parce que là, il y a beaucoup trop de choses. Et pour finir sur cette vidéo, les gars, rendez-vous le 29 août, quoi. Ça a l'air dingue, quoi. Alors, je pensais qu'ils allaient mettre les tatous, ils les ont pas mis. Je pense pas. Vu le nombre de choses. Enfin, après, ouais, faudra voir la gueule des omens, de certains trucs. Mais ouais. Je trouve qu'il y a trop d'un coup. Je pense qu'il n'y a pas... Alors, je vois un peu ce que tu veux dire, mais je pense que c'est pas forcément le trop d'un coup, c'est le fait de se dire, en somme, la commu voulait du craft, là, il y en a. La commu voulait du craft, et maintenant, il y en a. Plus d'excuses. Le truc maintenant, c'est qu'on a quand même moins d'essence aléatoire. Non, le tiers des orbes et tout, ça reste quand même pas mal. Alors, c'est pas... En somme, ça reste du craft. Mais même, le fait de crafter des items avec Abyss, c'est quand même huge aussi. C'est pas naze. C'est peut-être pas fou, mais c'est pas si naze que ça. Moi, j'ai trouvé que la mage était excellente. Franchement, moi, je trouve ça excellent. Le truc, c'est que, encore une fois, le système, il va être quand même un peu moins chiant. Mais ce que dit je vous sais, par exemple, c'est pas... Je comprends un peu le point de vue du il manque des choses. Mais ça tend quand même sur du positif. Déjà, le fait d'avoir des essences qui te donnent des... Que ce soit avec les perfects et tout... Je pense pas... Je pense qu'ils vont quand même augmenter le drop. Je pense pas. Moi, je pense sincèrement... Il y a des... Potentiellement, rien ne t'interdit de choper des perfects en campagne, par exemple. Hein. Bah, si c'est en grande... À voir si t'en chopes facilement ou pas, c'est toujours la même question. Mais je suis d'accord, je suis pas en train de te dire que c'est forcément la solution, mais à voir. Il y a quoi d'autre? Il y a, en résumé, là, attends, le truc qui m'a le plus marqué... Et le truc qui m'a le plus marqué... Attends, ils ont uploadé le truc sur YouTube, j'imagine. Ils ont uploadé le truc sur YouTube, on va remater ça tranquillement. Mais après, ça reprendra, on refera une vidéo complète, parce que là, on était sur la réact du live, mais... Il y a quand même beaucoup de choses qui ont changé sur les skills. Moi personnellement, je trouve que Abyss, ça va vraiment changer la vie. Je trouve que déjà, qu'ils aient mis syndicat, c'est un très bon départ. Ça aurait été dommage. Pour moi, ça aurait été dommage de ne pas proposer une version comme telle. Parce que, enfin... Parlons peu. Genre, quand même, tu vois, avoir la chance de mettre une ligne en préfixe, etc. Enfin, le problème qu'on avait, c'était de choper des hauts tiers. Ça, pour moi, c'est le futur. Mais actuellement, genre, déjà, quand tu vois la gueule des items que tu peux faire avec ce genre de système-là sur syndicat, c'est trop bien. Combien de fois... Regarde, dans un cas comme ça où tu es sur un début d'arc en leveling, jamais t'aurais envie de claquer... Jamais t'aurais envie de claquer une KO ou... Enfin, c'est ça qui est cool, en fait. C'est que t'as trop de choses. T'as trop de choses. Il ressemble à quoi l'arc de base, par exemple? Mais ouais, c'est ça qui est fou. Ça reste on est d'accord, ça reste quand même beaucoup tourné sur l'essence. Mais en somme, t'as aussi la recombination, t'as aussi plein de choses qui vont aussi recombler ça. Ça pourrait être sympa d'avoir des... Je sais pas si tu pourrais avoir multi-mode Abyss, mais il y a peut-être des trucs à faire. Est-ce que ça fonctionne que sur les armes? Est-ce que ça peut aussi fonctionner... Ça ne fonctionne que... Regarde, des secrets rares, ça ne fonctionne que sur les weapons. Donc, ok.
This area is overrun by the Abyssal and the Lost Men. After clearing through this area, you'll find the Well of Souls, a giant cavity with a massive vortex of souls swirling beneath you. So how...
Moi, je trouve ça génial. Enfin... On parle juste d'une zone à part entière pour crafter un item. Quand même. C'est pas... C'est pas mal. C'est pas mal.
Just throw them in, right? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Before throwing it in, you are given the option of how you want to transform it. In the form of a...
Techniquement, vous voyez, en somme, moi je trouve que c'est une bonne feature. Mais je pense qu'à terme, ça ferait chier de se dire, bah, dès que tu as besoin d'utiliser cette mécanique-là, tu vas devoir te TP et tu vas devoir rester ici.
Choice of 3 different modifiers. Once you've chosen your desired mod,
throw
it in. where it will absorb the power of the souls, and the ominous creature will then retrieve it for you. These modifiers can be ones from the core mod pool, all the way through to specialized modifiers that cannot normally appear
On
on
dirait le mec que
items.
t'as dans ton highlight là de ce qu'ils ont
During the
proposé. Ah bah c'est ça,
campaign,
c'est
you
le
can
même en
use it
fait.
as a way to more easily add useful existing mods. But during the endgame, there is a whole set of new and powerful mods you can add to your items. Like this mod for crossbows, that
Ça c'est fat. Je sais pas ce qu'on va avoir sur les autres items, mais il y a des trucs à faire. Je pense que là la
well,
vidéo.
we talked about how when closing pits, you can get Abyssal trove.
Enfin bon. Moi je. Attends, et qu'est-ce qui faisait le. Qu'est-ce qu'elle faisait la belt?
Different type of underground chamber. In these areas, you'll find an ancient spire, a device being used by
Très sympa
commanders
ce
of the
Eater
Abyssal
of Worlds
factions
revisité.
to
Moi je
plunge
valide.
Rayclast into a lightless void. Your goal is simple. Kill this commander and destroy the spire.
Moi je valide ce boss Eater of Worlds.
There are 4 bosses in the Abyss League, and there are some pretty cool uniques available from them.
Ok. Des items gain bonuses from secreted item as to it was the helmet. Ça c'est fat. Ça c'est vraiment fat.
An example is this belt, Darkness Enthroned. It has 2 sockets. But hold on, socketables don't work on belts. Well, this belt has a special mod that allows it to count as a different slot for the purpose of socketables. This one, for example, counts as a helmet. I kind of want one that counts as a body armor. I wonder how rare that one is. You can also find this unique jewel.
Ça là. Alors ça par contre comment on va pricer ça, ça va être un casse-tête. Mais le truc c'est que genre vraiment enfin trop bien. Trop bien. Et le trade system aussi qui va juste envoyer du très lourd. Je suis vraiment content. Alors on revient sur la table des contents. Qu'est-ce qu'on avait déjà sur le sommaire? Trop bien, trop bien. Un seul chrono straight, ça c'est incroyable. Parce que pour moi, c'est pas forcément une question de ouais, la commu va absolument garder cette histoire. En fait, c'est juste le temps qu'on gagne et la légèreté que la légèreté que tu as d'avoir justement des trades et tout. Alors, ça peut perdre quelques trucs, évidemment. Hein. Ça peut perdre quelques trucs. Mais là, actuellement, on va avoir l'acte 4 et 3. En fait, c'est simple. On se rajoute 24 boss sur la campagne. C'est pas mal, hein? 24 boss sur la campagne. Et 35 nouvelles zones, c'est trop cool. Génial, c'est validé. Évidemment, en Crafting Chains, on n'a que 3 grands chapitres. Mais je pense sincèrement que crafter l'essence, ça sera déjà beaucoup moins painful. Et surtout là, pour finir avec cette nouvelle ligue là qui arrive avec cette nouvelle ligue mécanique Abyss. Ça a l'air vraiment sympa. Et puis trop hâte de tester les nouveaux tribals. La Karui Family, on va dire. Ils ont dit Karui, c'est ça, hein. Je sais plus exactement le nom de la tribu, mais... Je suis trop content. En tout cas, vraiment, les potes, c'est une sacrée mage. Sacré live reveal. Donc, vous avez un petit peu mon ressenti, mon feeling pour cette histoire. N'hésitez pas à me dire ce que vous en avez pensé, parce que forcément, là aussi, on récolte pour YouTube. Donc, dans les commentaires, à voir ce qui vous a le plus hype, voir si vous êtes globalement content ou non des changements. En tout cas, cette ligue, elle va vraiment être sous le signe de la vitesse. Et ça, pour le coup, c'est quand même un grand point fort. Et c'était la chose qu'on attendait le plus aussi, c'est que là, même si dans l'idée, beaucoup de choses sont encore à désirer sur comment on craft vraiment ces items, en vrai de vrai, il y a quand même des trucs cool. Il y a quand même des trucs cool et je pense qu'on va vraiment, vraiment apprécier cet ajout, cette fonctionnalité pour juste rusher un peu plus vite. Bref, sur ce, encore merci d'avoir suivi tout ça. N'hésitez pas à vous abonner et à me mettre en commentaire ce que vous avez le plus apprécié. Et d'ici là, on se retrouve le 29 août pour tester cette mage qui a l'air tout simplement incroyable. À la prochaine l'équipe. Ciao, ciao.